The evacuation sirens wailed across the colony ship Tenebrous Dawn, their piercing cry cutting through the chaos like a blade through flesh. Leora Kane sprinted down Corridor 7, her boots pounding against the metal grating as emergency lights bathed everything in crimson. Behind her, 12 small figures ran with surprising speed, their 6 legs carrying them in a skittering rhythm that somehow kept pace with her longer strides. "Stay close," Leora shouted over her shoulder, though she knew the Vekir cubs understood her more through tone than words. Their translator implants were still developing, not yet sophisticated enough for full comprehension. But they understood her. They always had. The ship shuddered violently. Somewhere in the lower decks, another explosion bloomed. The Krath raiders had boarded through the cargo bay, their hunger for Vekir genetic material overriding any sense of galactic law. To them, the cubs were just profitable merchandise. To Leora, they were children. She'd been their cultural liaison for 8 months now, ever since the Vekir Council had reluctantly agreed to let a human work with their young. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity's protective instincts, especially where children were involved. Most species found it unsettling. The Vekir had found it useful. "Mikri, head count," Leora barked as they reached Junction 12. The smallest cub, barely reaching Leora's hip despite having twice as many legs, chittered sharply. His silver carapace gleamed under the emergency lights as he pivoted, his compound eyes reflecting the scene behind them. "All here, Miss Kane." "All 12, Leora's heart hammered. The escape pods were 3 corridors away. They could make it. They had to make it. Then the floor beneath her buckled. The explosion wasn't close, but its shockwave rippled through the ship's superstructure like a stone through water. Leora's knee buckled as a support beam overhead groaned and twisted. She went down hard, her right leg folding beneath her as pain lanced up her spine. Something in her knee had given way. Torn ligament, shattered cartilage. She couldn't tell. What she could tell was that she couldn't put weight on it. "No, no, no," Leora gasped, trying to push herself up. Her legs screamed in protest. She had failed them. After everything, after promising the Vekir Council she'd keep them safe, after 8 months of reading them Earth stories and teaching them to laugh at human jokes, they barely understood she'd failed. "Miss Kane." Mikri's voice was high with panic. "Go," Leora commanded, pointing down the corridor with a shaking hand. "Pods are that way. Run. I'll catch up." She was lying. They both knew it. Then something remarkable happened. Mikri didn't run. Instead, the small cub moved directly in front of Leora, his body low to the ground, his mandibles spread wide in a defensive posture Leora had only seen adult Vekir take. Behind him, the other 11 cubs moved with sudden, startling precision. They formed a circle. 12 small bodies, none larger than a human child, created a living barrier around Leora's collapsed form. Their carapaces interlocked, their limbs braced, facing outward, protecting inward. "What are you? No. Go." Leora's voice cracked. "You have to leave me." "No." Mikri's voice was steady, far steadier than any child should be. "Humans never leave their pack. You're not my... You told us the story." Another cub interrupted, the one Leora called Whisper for her soft-spoken nature. "The human soldier. Afghanistan." She stayed with the cubs, the children, even when the bad ones came. She protected them until help arrived. Leora's breath caught. 3 weeks ago, she'd told them about Marine Corporal Sarah Hendricks, who'd shielded a group of Afghan children during an insurgent attack. Hendricks had taken 3 bullets before reinforcements arrived. The children had survived. Hendricks hadn't. "That's different," Leora said weakly. "That was... You are our Hendricks," Mikri said simply. "So we are your children. And we do not leave pack." The corridor shook again. Closer this time. Leora could hear the harsh, barking language of the Krath raiders echoing from somewhere nearby. Boots on metal. Weapons charging. "Mikri, please. Can you stand if we help?" Mikri asked, already moving. He positioned himself under Leora's left arm, bracing with 4 of his 6 legs. Two other cubs immediately flanked her right side. I don't think. Try. It was an order. From a 10-year-old alien who weighed maybe 30 pounds, Leora tried. With 6 cubs acting as living crutches and supports, distributing her weight across their small but surprisingly strong frames, Leora rose. Pain exploded through her leg, but she bit down on a scream. The remaining cubs maintained their protective formation. 2 in front, 4 behind, scanning for threats. Together, Mikri said, like you taught us. 1 step. They moved as a unit. Slow, painfully slow, but moving. Leora's weight spread across multiple small bodies. Each cub adjusted their gait to match the others, creating a stable platform. It shouldn't have worked. By every law of physics and biomechanics, it shouldn't have worked. But it did, because they'd learned from humanity's most dangerous trait. We do not abandon our own. The escape pod bay doors were visible now. 50 meters, 40, 30. A Krath raider rounded the corner ahead, its gray hide bristling with combat stimulants, its weapon raised. It saw the cubs, valuable cargo. It saw Leora. An obstacle. It didn't see Mikri detach from the group and charge. The small cub launched himself at the raider's face with a shriek that raised every hair on Leora's neck. He was no match for an adult Krath. But he didn't need to be. He needed to be a distraction. The raider staggered, swatting at Mikri like an insect. In that moment, Leora and the remaining cubs covered the final distance. Other survivors were already in the pods, doors sealing, launch sequences initiating. Mikri! Leora screamed. The cub disengaged, one of his legs damaged but still functional. He skittered toward them as the raider raised its weapon. Security Chief Morrigan appeared from an adjacent corridor, her plasma rifle singing. The raider went down. Get in, now, Morrigan roared, laying down covering fire. The cubs practically threw Leora into the nearest pod. They piled in after her. Mikri last, and the door hissed shut. The launch sequence engaged. Through the small viewport, Leora watched the tenebrous dawn grow smaller, explosions blossoming across its hull like terrible flowers. Mikri settled beside her, his damaged leg tucked beneath him. We did not leave our pack, he said quietly. Leora pulled the small alien close, feeling his carapace cool and solid against her chest. Around them, the other cubs huddled together, creating a pile of interlocking bodies and gentle chittering sounds. No, Leora whispered, tears streaming down her face. In the cold mathematics of survival, what had happened made no sense. 12 children had risked themselves for 1 adult. They had violated every evolutionary imperative, every survival instinct, but they had learned from humanity. And humanity had long ago decided that some things mattered more than survival. Some things, like protecting the ones you love, mattered more than anything. As the escape pod drifted toward the rescue fleet's coordinates, Mikri's translator implant finally found the words he'd been searching for. Pack, he said, with absolute certainty. You are our pack, Miss Kane. And pack always comes home. Leora held them tighter. These small alien children, who'd learned humanity's most sacred creed. We do not leave our own behind. Ever.